Lots of times I'll get questions about how do you contour? I want to contour, I want to highlight. I see it all the time in the magazines. But there are a couple of steps you need to know beforehand, like prepping the skin. The first thing we do is we even down her skin tone, a little bit of foundation. After prepping the skin, I like to fill the brows in a little bit to frame the face. I like to use a sable brush, and I like to use the point going towards the nose. And then I like to draw a little guideline underneath the brow. The biggest common mistake that people make is they take the brush and they just brush it through the brow. That's a big no-no, because then you're really not doing much to the brow. You're just kind of filling it in, but it's a little sloppy. It should be a really light touch, because there's so much pigment in the brow kits, because it's a dark color. And then what I like to do is I like to smooth it out. So you don't really see where the line ends or begins. See the difference between the two filled in? Light highlights and dark takes away. And one thing that a lot of people tend to forget about is the highlight underneath the brow. I like to do that with a little natural pencil. It's almost close to a little bit of a fleshy color, but just a little bit lighter than the pigment of the skin. So it still brings it forward, but it's not so obvious. And then I like to blend it in with my finger. There's a couple of steps to highlighting that people really don't realize. There's the concealer highlighting, where you're just kind of still trying to cover up the darkness under the skin. And then there's the nighttime highlighting, the shimmer, the glam. I like to do both. The biggest misconception that people make is they try to get a concealer to match their skin tone instead of trying to conceal what they really need to hide underneath the eye. The thinnest skin on our body is our eyelids and everything around the eye area. That shows the most discoloration. So what people need to remember, there are two different undertones here that's going on. You have the skin pigment, and then you have the darkness underneath the eyes. It never should be matchy-matchy to the skin, because you're trying to cover two different things. But most of all, I like to get in right into this corner right in here, because that's where we get darker as women as we get older first. And you want to pat. You don't want to rub. Everybody rubs a lot, and it actually defeats the purpose. It makes the makeup look a little bit more transparent. And that's actually the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're trying to conceal. So as you can see, she's a little light in here. So now you're trying to think to yourself, okay, well, I covered up the darkness, but now I look really light compared to my skin. So now we blend a little bit with a little bit of powder. Not only are we going to cover up the lightness a little bit, slightly, and blend it in, but we're also going to set that concealer so it doesn't move. If you're looking for a good fan brush, you want to get one that the bristles are soft, so it glides on really nice to the skin. Lots of times people ask me, well, what kind of highlighter should I get? I have a powder. Should I use a powder? Me personally, I really don't like to use a powder. I find the powder to be a little cakey, and I find it to be a little bit aging, especially for more mature clients. I like to use a cream myself. I like that wet, dewy look. A cream will give you that. Kind of dab it right here on the cheekbone. This is actually a gel that we sell here. I like to do that first, right in that cheekbone area. So in order to bring the cheekbones forward and to bring light to it so it reflects well, you want to highlight on the cheekbone area, just in this area. You don't want to go all the way down towards the nose. It's the same thing when you apply blush. You should never be down in this area. It should always be up here and back. So first I did a little cream, like a clear cream gel on top to give a little wet dewy look. And then I want to apply a little bit of shimmer right here. And I'm going to smudge with my finger a little bit to bring the cheekbone forward. Notice I'm not going far down here. Just in this area. Now we're going to do a little contouring. We highlighted the cheekbone, and now we're going to go just right under the cheekbone and contour with our fan brush. We get really good in this area. Now, the fan brush is a little bit lighter of an application. I like to use that more for day if I'm going to contour. Contouring can be very heavy, especially in professional pictures. It looks completely different professional pictures contouring than daytime contouring. Just remember that when you see a picture in the magazine, it's not always how you would want your makeup to look if you were walking down the street. The reason why I'm blending is you never want a too severe dark shadow underneath the cheekbone. It tends to look a little artificial and hard. So right underneath here is where I blended in, so you didn't see the contouring. But if you notice, see how it looks like I brought the cheekbone out by taking away a little bit underneath and highlighting on the cheekbone? It's beautiful. Lots of times I'll see women with contouring done, and they tend to have a little shimmer in their contouring. Now remember, contouring, you're going to take away. Highlighting, you want the shimmer. You want add a little bit of sparkle there because you want that seen. Contouring should never have shimmer in it. So ladies, don't be using your bronzer to contour. That's a big no-no. As you notice, the contouring powder that I use is matte. There is no shimmer in the contouring powder. I'm looking for the right contouring powder. It should always be 2 to 3 shades a little bit deeper than your natural skin tone. Contouring the nose, I see this a lot with women when they come in. It can look a little heavy. So let's show you the right steps to do it for a day look. You're going to take a little bit of the powder and you're going to lightly sweep it down the nose, center of the nose. If you notice, I'm using a large shadow brush to do this. Real light, just kind of glide it on in the center of the nose. Now we're going to do the sides. A little bit of contour on the side of the nose, just slightly down here. Contouring on the side thins out the nose. You see how light of a touch I'm using though? Not heavy-handed. As you notice, it looks a little heavy. The next step is women forget they need to blend the lines in. So that's when our powder comes in. We kind of just pat and set it into place. Depending on the face, you really need to examine the person's features and figure out what needs to be brought forward with the highlighting and what needs to be taken away with the contouring. I know you see a lot of videos and they always do their forehead and they do the chin and they do the cheeks. In this case, when we're in its forehead, we want to minimize it. How I would do that is go with a little bit of contouring powder and just go over the forehead very lightly. And as you notice, I'm using my fan brush, so it's not too heavy of an application. Now we're going to apply a little bit of blush. What I like to do is take the blush and then wipe a little bit off on a tissue because there's so much excess on that brush. I'm going to apply right here between the cheekbone and underneath the contour. So we're going to go right in the middle. I'm going to take a little bit of my blush brush and just go over in between the cheekbone where I highlighted and between the contouring. So right down the middle in there. And I like to blend back into the ear area so it gets kind of faded in with the hairline. And now you have our finished look for day.